Hi, my name is Ivy. I'm from Norway but I live in the UK and I'm participating in the BookTube Tryouts. Today I'm giving you my mid-month wrap-up and I'm looking forward to your feedback on this BookTube video. So we're halfway through May and I have about 10 books on my May TBR. 8 of them are essential and 3 of them are kind of like, if I have time, I'll do them. So for the first 2 weeks of May, I've read 6 books. 2 of them are dragged over from April's TBR, 2 of them are on my May TBR, and now I'm getting really nervous about my May TBR, yay! And 2 of them are not even on any of my TBRs. First book I read this month was 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is the first in an adult fantasy series called the Broken Earth Trilogy. I think it's called something else as well. I think it might be called like the Inheritance Cycle, something like that. Not entirely sure. I read half of this book in April, but I never managed to finish it. So half this book dragged on to my May TBR, and I finished it within the first weekend of May. So yay! I didn't really know what to expect when I went into this book. I don't really like to know much about the books I'm reading. I like going not knowing much. This I knew would have some sort of geology in it. It will be fantasy. It will be high stakes of some kind. I wasn't entirely sure. This follows a couple of different characters as they try to adapt to new scenery, new world, new situations in their own lives. It follows a lot of people with special powers that's related to earth and earthquakes and fault lines, etc. And it follows this mega quake situation where it seems like the 5th season is starting, and the 5th season is basically the same as an ice age, just plate tectonic version. So you have increased earth activity basically, and the continent is breaking apart. That's the 5th season essentially. It was a very fascinating world. It was a fascinating story. I really enjoyed it and I think I gave it a 5-star. I vlogged the entire experience of this. I'm a geologist and I'm judging the geological content in this book, and it was a fun ride. It was a really fun ride. Hopefully I'm going to pick up the sequel very soon. Then I reread Six of Crows for the first time ever, and the reason for that was because I watched Shadow and Bone twice and I needed some more crows in my life, so I picked it up. I don't normally reread books. I remember books. I don't see the point of rereading them when I already know the story, I know the characters, I know everything. Like, I know why people reread books, and it's about revisiting your favorite characters, etc. I get it. But to me, they're already up there. I already live with them. So I don't really see the point mostly about rereading books. I understand why other people do it. Do whatever you want. I read Six of Crows for the first time in 2017, I think. So there's been quite some years between then and now. And watching Shadow and Bone, I got a bit, I needed more crows, basically. So I picked up Six of Crows and I loved it. I loved it more the second time around. I might love it more because I know the ending to the story and I have seen the prequel in the TV show, so that might be the reason why I love it more. But I loved it more than the first time around, and I had forgotten something. If you haven't seen Shadow and Bone, just watch it. Okay, it's the prequel to Six of Crows, and then you can read Six of Crows afterwards. It follows 6 gang members of the Crow Gang. Casbreaker is in charge, and they get involved in this heist to release a person from the Ice Court, which is Matthias's homeland. So they need to do all of these different things to like rescue or kidnap or whatever you want to deem it as. Everything in this is questionable. Morally grey minimum is why a fantasy is the first in a duology. It's great. I had forgotten completely that Jasper already knew about his little gift. I thought that'd be like a surprise to everyone, including himself, like halfway through Crooked Kingdom. But no, halfway through Six of Crows, it's right there. Completely missed that. first time around. I'm like, what? Why? How did I miss that? Also, like, I knew Inej and Nina wasn't really friends, but I'd completely forgotten that they meet for the first time in Six of Crows. For some reason, to me, they were just best of friends forever and always had been. Another interesting point about rereading this and having watched Shadow and Bone, the little background story between Nina and Matthias, specifically how she got captured and all of that, that is in Six of Crows. And I was visualizing the TV show as I was reading that scene, because the dialogue is exactly the same. It was great. I just, like, as a book nerd, I like appreciated the fact that it was word by word exactly the same. Loved it. So I'm quite looking forward to all the banter between those two in the following seasons of Shadow and Bone. Fingers crossed we get a second season. Fingers crossed we get 7 seasons. Just like, I love Nina. I think the first time I read Six of Crows, I was like, oh, I love Cass. Cass is so amazing. Still, yes, he is amazing. Okay, he is. He's precious. I mean, his background story is always heartbreaking. But Nina? Oh, I have a brand new appreciation for Nina. And it might be because of the TV show, I don't know. But I'm changing my allegiance. I'm becoming more of a Nina stan than Cass. What's happening to me? I gave it 5 stars. I think the first time I read it, I gave it 4 stars because I was like, yeah, it's good, not really living up to the hype, etc. Now, knowing it all, knowing all the characters, having seen the TV show, I'm like, 5 stars. 5 stars. Yeah. No questions. 5 stars. Six of Crows was not on my TBR. It was just something I needed desperately at the end of April. It was a very stressful month. The last part of the month was really stressful. So I just needed something good and happy, and Six of Crows was it. And I have 0 regrets. 0. The next book I finished was The House in Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This was the last book on my April TBR. I hadn't started in April. I really wanted to get to it. And I did. First week of May, I managed to get to it. This is a standalone adult fantasy. It has some middle grade feel to it. It's mostly due to the characters and the writing in here. It's not a simple writing, but it's more whimsical and a bit lighter than a normal adult fantasy. It follows Linus Barker, who works in department in charge of magical youth. He lives alone with a cat who's very unloving cat, and Linus Barker then gets a assignment by the extreme upper management to go to a specific orphanage on a specific island to make sure that the children are okay, that the orphanages stay open, and they're being treated as per guidelines. So Linus goes on to this orphanage on an island, and there's a little bit more to it than he expected. It was surprisingly sassy. I love the sassiness in it, but in the beginning it's very on the inside, so you hear his internal monologue and then his external monologue, as in a reply to his co-workers or his boss or whatever, and then towards the end that sassiness kind of is more external. And I really appreciate the transformation in this character. I loved how the children were written. The children are written like gemstones. They're like little sparkly, bright personalities that jumps about, and they're all very, very well defined, these children, and I really appreciate that. And in my TBR, I read the back of this and I said, there's something here about something about the master would do anything to keep the children safe, even if it means the world has to burn, or worse, his secret comes to life. And I said, oh, well, if him being gay is a secret, I get really disappointed. I was not disappointed. I gave this 4 stars. I wasn't completely blown away, but I think that's because I just finished Six of Crows and I was really high up, and I picked this up straight away after, and it was entirely the same. But it's a strong 4. I think it's like a 4.25. Really, ideally. But I did love it. It's a standalone. It's whimsical, it's cute, it's really sweet, it's heartwarming. You feel really appreciative of the work that Linus Sparket does in this book, and the children and all of that. No matter how bad the children might seem on paper, they are precious little gems. So yeah, I love this book. My next read was Illusionary, which is the second book in the Whole Crown duology by Zoraida Cordova. It's loosely based on the Spanish Inquisition, I believe, in some sort of relationship between Andalusia and Spain. I think something along those lines there. I'm not going to spoil the sequel to this. I was a little bit hesitant in that it would be a duology because I felt there was a lot of loose ends that I struggled in my head to figure out exactly how this will all like come together and tie up and everything. But I'm quite satisfied. Having read the ending, I'm quite satisfied. I love the relationship between Ren and Castian. I love the battles that they had between each other. Obviously, Leo is my favourite character, but he's a very stereotypical queer sidekick, which is a bit like, do we really have to use this thing again? But at the same time, I really appreciate him as a character because he's lovely. He's just wonderful. I love him to bits. The world was bigger in this book than in the first book. The magic evolves a bit as well. Ren gets some more, not abilities, but more knowledge about her power that makes it a little bit different. You get more background story for the villain in this book, and I really like the villain, like the reason for why they were who they were, etc. It's a strong story, I felt, and it had a very satisfying ending. So I gave this a 4-star because the entire series never really blew me away, but I loved the world and the characters, and the story is very satisfying. Why do I keep saying satisfying? I don't know, but it satisfied me and my needs. It's great. I feel like I'm giving everything 4 stars these days, but 4 stars is like average to me. It's like a standard. Like, yeah, I loved it. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. 4 stars. Yay. Then I read Piranzi by Susanna Clarke. I initially read this because I really want to read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, but that is 900 pages. And I'm a little bit reluctant in picking up a brand new author when the book is so long. So I picked Piranzi up thinking this would be a great introduction to the author. I don't know anything about Labyrinth, the story, Pan, the story, or anything like that. I never really got around to watching the movies, reading the books, etc. Piranzi is kind of loosely based on that. It follows the character Piranzi set in a big house, and I mean big, like kilometers in length. And Piranzi has mapped it all out. So he's talking about the 974th Western Hall. Because you got east, west, north and south, right? I think the east is drowned. Drowned hall to the east because there's a tide coming in. So there's like this big house with loads of statues. And then there's a tide coming in on the lower levels. And the clouds comes down in the upper levels, and Piranzi is kind of like living in this house, and then every now and then, about twice a week I think, he meets the other, which is someone else who comes to like question him about certain things about the house. And you kind of follow the mystery of why this other person comes to visit, and who Piranzi actually is, and why Piranzi is where he is, and where this world fits within our world. And there's a whole like mystery to it, and you follow Piranzi as he kind of like gets leads and things starts to unravel in his reality and in his mind and stuff. It was an interesting concept. I think if you know the story of Pan or Labyrinth, you might get more from it. To me, this felt very... I would like to compare this to the Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, which I wasn't a big fan of. I'm not really a big fan of Erin Morgenstern herself or her writing. I understand why people are, because it could be magical. I got very much vibes from Piranzi that was similar to that. It might be something to do with house, because they're both set in a house, but I don't know. Piranzi wasn't entirely for me. I gave it 3 stars. I struggled a little bit getting through, but at the same time, once I sat down and started reading it, it kind of flowed. So I kind of continued to read it. It wasn't like I wanted to put it down while I was reading it. I just struggled a little bit picking it up, kind of thing. So I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. It wasn't amazing. I'm still not sure if I'm going to be picking up Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell based on this. I don't know. I'm going to have to wait and see, I think. 900 pages is a big time investment. I don't know. And then lastly, I read the 4th volume of Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and illustrated by Susanna Takeda. Volume 4 continues pretty much straight after volume 3. It's been quite a while since I read volume 3, so I was a little bit rusty. So at the beginning, I struggled a little bit to figure out exactly where we were in the story. But it picked up pretty quickly, and Micah Halfwolf is still the badass warrior that I expected her to be. Kipper is still the cutest fox girl ever, and she is my favourite character. It's really interesting to see how much Kipper has evolved from the first installment. In the first installment, she's quite scared little girl kind of thing. Now she's becoming a warrior. I mean, it's really cool to see that. So I really like this. I gave it 4 stars again. I think 4 is my average so far this month. Not surprised. I love the illustrations in this book. I love how it is like almost a bit steampunky. Like a steampunky feel to it. And I'm liking the magic. And I'm now in the 4th volume. I'm really getting my head around who's who and why, and the political situation in this world. This entire world kind of has 3 different types of humans, I think. Or is it 4, including humans? Anyway, and there's some old gods and some Asians and some magical creatures, etc. And they're all trying to fight each other. I'm also liking how the backstory of Micah Halfwolf as she grew up with Zin, and how kind of like it was not discovered but unraveled a little bit in this installment, and a little bit of like that interactions in the past between those two. I really like that. And also in this installment we get to meet Micah's father, who is an arsehole basically. I think there's 6 volumes out, and I really want to pick up the next 2 before I forget what happened in volume 4. I don't seem to have availability yet with the libraries and stuff. The 4th volume I got that off Libby, the library app. They only have the first 4 volumes, so I'm kind of stuck now. So I need to figure out what to do about that. But I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoy that series. I'm definitely going to continue. With every single volume, it gets more and more queer. Yes! So that is my mid-month wrap-up. Please let me know any feedback to this video. Whatever you think I could have done better, or less of, or more of, or I know I struggled to look into the camera. That is one thing I am trying to work on, and I look forward to hearing from you. So, thank you.